Afternoon. How are we all doing? Afternoon, Crumb, Ian, David, Burke, Steve, Fletch, even, not Fledge, Peter, Pip, Amy, Neo. How are we all doing? So we had some movement. Oh, just TP'd on pound New Zealand. How nice. So yeah, loads of movement off of the CPI figures for the US. Not particularly exciting new movement, I have to say, for some of them. So done some drawdown control, up 0.18%. Keep banking stuff, keep doing drawdown control with the profit, basically trying to firefight some of it. So not really made a lot of money out of it, but anyway, yeah, some movement. So there's the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar seem to have massively powered up on the back of the US dollar news. The pound has decided to come down very hard off the back of the US dollar news. Very weird reaction. US dollar is sort of sitting there going, yeah, whatever. And everything else has gone mental. So very odd reaction to that news. So just quickly go through the news. Bailey said this morning that the latest job data shows some indication of the labour market easing. Potentially, we might get an extra 0.25% less of an increase on our inflation interest rates, but nothing particularly exciting came out of Bailey's talk this morning. Obviously, we just had the CPI figures. So the CPI figures haven't updated for some reason. Month on month was a miss by 0.1. Year on year was a miss by 1.1 rather, and the core was a miss by 0.1. I can't remember what I said yesterday in the live room, but I said something weird like if we get a 0.4. Did I say Did I say everything down or up by 0.1? But weirdly, it's happened. I can't remember which one it was I said. I'll have to go and watch the replay. But I said up by 0.1 or down by 0.1. And it's come out exactly down by 0.1, which is weird. Maybe that crystal ball is real. But anyway, it's a miss across the board for the US dollar, but it's not a big miss. It's pretty close to the forecasts. So if you look at what we had a 0.1 forecasting a 0.3, we got a 0.2, bang in the middle. We had a 4 forecasting a 3.1, we got a 3, which is a 0.1 variance on a 1% change. 10% out. We had a 0.4 forecasted a 0.3. We got a 0.2. So it's not actually much of a miss at all. So I'm not surprised the US dollar hasn't done much, but I am surprised everything else has. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, so that's the news we've had this morning, obviously, and everything's gone a little bit crazy. Fed swaps now pricing a lower odds of a second hike this year. So obviously the reason we hike interest rates is to drop inflation. Inflation's dropped bigger than expected. Less pressure on interest rates. So we may get less chance of a big rise there. So UK interest rate swaps show 133 versus 140. So it's still 1.25% on the UK. That's fine. Yeah, so there's your news today. So market opens in 3 minutes. We've had a very big reaction. I'm just going to... I am going to let the EA trade this afternoon. I've decided, but I'm going to drop the risk down. Across the board, basically. Half the risk. So we'll see how we get on. I think there's a possibility of a retracement back to this gap this afternoon. And obviously we've got the Canadian rates coming out at 3 o'clock. So one of two things is going to happen, I think. We're either going to go into a rotation. And then obviously with the Canadian rates coming out, we'll fly one direction or the other. Or we're going to retrace this lot. And then at 3 o'clock, we'll pop and continue. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to let it run and see what happens with the opening ranges today. But if you're at all concerned, don't trade the opening range breakouts, because there's a good chance we might get some whipsaw this afternoon. The strategy that I'm using here is using 1/4 of an ADR risk, a stop loss rather. So I've actually got a lot more wiggle room in the opening range breakouts that I'm taking on this version of the EA that I'm testing. So it's actually less open, if you like, to whipsawing, as if you take the 5-minute opening range, the pre-5 minute, the pre-15 minute, or the 5-minute opening range. Usually you're using stop the other side. So I'm using wider stop, so it's a little bit safer. So I'm going to let it run, I've decided, and we'll see what happens. So I've banked a few bits and pieces. I think the best thing to do is just wait for the market to open, which I think has just happened. Nope, not quite. We've got 42 seconds. So the DAX break this morning to the upside was very nice. I took a trade there with the Price Action Toolkit this morning. There, added on that break and got out there with a nice couple of percent. But I know some people took that reversal down there, which is where we were looking at this morning. I wasn't going to chase that, but I got on that. Didn't hold it to there. Wish I had, but I didn't. So we'll see where we go. Nearly open. There we go. Market's open. So S&P and the Dow. Oh, blimey, already short on the Dow. That was close. NASDAQ just waiting on that one. Excuse me while I sip my tiny coffee. Or rather down it. So the pre-market 10 or 15 there, quite tight. But if we're going to get fairly low volume, we might actually find that we do just grind, which isn't actually going to be a bad thing. Very, very quiet. Still down. My FX book. This is 2 days now. 2 days this thing's been down. They got big problems. How can you not restore electricity in 2 days? Ridiculous, isn't it? Ooh, load of buyers just came in there. So I'm hedged on the Dow, long on the S&P. It is a whippy one. Got more buying coming in, but it is a bit whippy. So just while we're waiting for that to figure out where it's going. Obviously, with the move that we've had today, we've had a big... Why is it when I switch to the platform, it freezes? It's as if it's like, hang on a minute, he needs to look at this. Stop. Jesus. Selling. So I'm hedged on the S&P as well. So we'll see if we get a run. Doesn't matter which way it goes, I'm going to make money. If we get a run. If we don't get a run, obviously I'm not. What I was going to do was have a look at where we're potentially going on this Dow today. So your obvious upside target has been breached, which is this previous week's high. So this is last week's high and the previous week's high. So that's the previous week's high hit. That's last week's high hit. So that's a double resistance, basically, which we've gone through now, basically, on the news spike. So if the chart was to ever update the data, I'd be able to show you. So your next stop to the upside is this monthly high, which isn't far away. This is 125 ADR today on the Dow. So there is upside resistance at 125 ADR. So watch that level for a potential drop back down again. So we've been in this range now. We entered the range kind of around about here So that's the range low, range high, low, high again, basically. So we've been in this range since the beginning of June, basically. We're kind of coming into the middle of July. So 6 weeks we've been sideways on the Dow. So there is good potential for a drop off the bottom there. So we'll see how we go, but that's your upside target there. S&P 500, we're out the highs as well, but the chart's not updating, so I can't show you. And then NASDAQ, same thing, we're out the highs, or at the highs right now. So potential for a drop off of that one as well. So lots of ADRs today, as you'd imagine. Obviously, there's no point in going through this. We've just had a major news event. Pretty much every currency has moved ADR. So it's all ADR today. RSI's lit up like a Christmas tree as well. But we've got the Canadian news coming in 30 minutes. So any analysis I do on any of this lot is going to be totally different in 30 minutes. So I don't think there's an awful lot of point in going through everything, but I will have a look at some of these ADRs in a minute. So total whipsaw at the open, which is kind of what I was expecting today. Slightly long bias on the Dow. No real bias on the S&P or the NASDAQ at the moment. So there's your 5-minute opening range on the NAS. We've got 1 minute to go until the open, until the 5-minute open is in. So decent opening range break today could be to take this 5-minute candle, 5-minute opening range break today. It's pretty much the same as the pre-market. So as I said, whipsaw, nothing's gone anywhere, although we are slightly long bias on the Dow. Right. So there's your 5-minute opening ranges in. So NASDAQ 5-minute ORB is there. There's your Dow. And there is your S&P. Afternoon, everybody. I've not said an afternoon to. Astro Fagini Min Per Brian, basically. XR update.news. Morning. Salad is getting tossed. Good. And not in a good way. Okay. Sorry about your salad. Going to see if there's anything to bank, basically, ahead of the Canadian news. Euro US dollar 125 ADR. We'll have a look at some of these in a minute. So this US dollar seems to be getting hammered on the interest, on the inflation figures. This could all completely undo itself in the Canadian news. So if we get a massive positive move on the Canadian interest rates, the US dollar is going to go back the other way. So I'm just looking for stuff to take profit on. So Aussie dollar CAD, I'm completely out of now. So I only had 2 positions on it. TP was there. As we got the spike, I took one off at that high and I let the second one run to target. So I'm flat on that one now. That's your propulsion gap. Target hit, 175 ADR. Aussie dollar yen's in profit. That's just about to hit ADR at resistance. Might look at taking that off in a minute. Just done some more drawdown control. Basically, every profit I'm closing out is basically being done by drawdown control at the moment. So just looking to stay ahead of the game, really. So I want to bank these profits. If we get a reversal on the Canadian dollar, these will all go into drawdown. Aussie dollar yen, ADR. Really whippy. So 280 off the Dow. This ain't going anywhere. If you haven't taken anything, I wouldn't bother today. It's going to be a whipsaw. Morning, David. Banked 5K scalping gold through the Asian session, London session, and New York. Well, that's news trading. If you went along on gold today, you couldn't have helped but make money. It's a US dollar cross, US dollar tanked, therefore it popped. So flip a coin, pick a direction, off you go. Same as the DAX this morning, but I wasn't on it, unfortunately. Went without me. Dow down 34,250 according to my coin costs and the tea leaves. Good job. $34,250. So you're looking for it to basically collapse today and completely reverse the entire day moves. Might do. See what happens with the Canadian dollar. Certainly could happen. So all these ADRs today, if you have a look through them quickly, Aussie dollar CAD, obviously 175 ADR through the roof. We haven't even had the Canadian dollar rates yet. So 125 on the pound odd. These are just all going to go nuts today. This is CPI all over, interest rates and CPI. So these will mean revert. So these are all valid shorts. You just don't want to take them ahead of the Canadian dollar news, because if the Canadian dollar, for example, decides not to go to 4.5, this thing's going to go through the roof at 300 ADR today. So, however, if they react positively, you want to get in now, because it's going to be back down here in about 40 minutes time. So, but loads of ADRs. Basically, pretty much everything is hit ADR today, because obviously we've had the whipsaw. US dollar Swiss is down to 150, so US dollar still collapsing. So I'll be adding on to that. New Zealand, 125. Shouldn't have got out of that. Jesus, this chart is utterly... What is wrong with it? Brand new install of MT4. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to give RoboForex one more chance. I'm going to switch from my ECN to my Prime account. I'm going to move everything over to Prime and see if the data charting is any better. If it's not, I'm just going to kick them to touch, basically. And if they moan, I will just tell them why, because their data's crap. Look at that chart. Untradeable. Can't use it. Yeah, ever since just slight more excess of data than you would on a normal day, nothing works. Yeah, no other broker experiences this problem. And it's intermittent as well. Some days it's fine. It's been fine for weeks. And all of a sudden, then you get a week of, I'm not going to do any data. Not acceptable. You can't, not in this day and age. You shouldn't be doing it. So I might switch over to the Prime account and see if that makes a difference. 125 ADR on pound New Zealand. Out too soon. Got our ADR. So I'm not going to go through all these because it's all going to change in a minute. We've got 20 minutes to the news. Any pairs in specifically anybody wants to have a look at? Dow's coming down. That's a double-ended stop out by the looks of things. Right, so we might be starting a retracement, as I said, back down to this level. It's going to need to sell off for the next sort of 20, 30 minutes pretty hard if it's going to get there before the Canadian update, but we will see. Closing the Dow out. Don't like it. Don't like it. I think it's a short. Nobody got anything they want to look at specifically? No? Fine. I'll go through the RSIs then. Firing one of the co-location centers in New York City. Been down for days, according to the emails I've been receiving from Israel, where one of the VPS services is based. Oh, is that what it is? Firing one of the co-location centers. But my point is, if it's a co-location center, which is pretty standard these days, so if you're running CDNs, like content delivery networks and things for things like Google, Google never goes down. Why? Because there are multiple instances of Google running everywhere in the world. If there's a fire there, you switch. Why are they not switching? It's nuts. I don't understand why, how in this day and age you can have a website go down for 2 days. You know, when I was running my web design company, my customers wouldn't stand for an hour of downtime. My phone was off the hook. Like 2 days, you're out of business. Nuts. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. We can have a look at that. No, we can't. Talk amongst yourselves. It's going long, isn't it? This is just going to be a total whipsaw for half an hour. Basically, this is the day when you lose 6% of your account in 30 minutes, and then the market goes mental without you. This is why I said don't trade the open today. It's going to drive you nuts. It's driving me nuts already. I've already lost this morning's profit, and there's a very high chance I'm going to lose twice as much as that in a minute. You never know. So yeah, New Zealand dollar CAD. Sorry, I was waiting for the chart to update. So yeah, big strong push to the upside on that one. Obviously, you got New Zealand dollar, US dollar. You said, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so big strong push to the upside. Obviously, US dollar weakness, broken out the highs. It's a ADR reversal. So just drop down M5. Wait for the reversal alert, which is going to be pretty tight today, and that'll be your reversal alert to retrace. But, you know, don't do it now because the Canadian dollar news is coming out in a quarter of an hour. And well, up to you if you want to do it now. You will either be back down here in 15, 20 minutes time, or you'll be somewhere off the top of that chart in 20 minutes time. So if you're going to take any trade right now, you are literally gambling on the news, which is fine. Obviously, make sure you've got a stop in place. Unless you're position trading it, obviously, then you'd probably be ready to get into another position short if you've got a short on it, but you shouldn't really be in this. That was the last entry there. There's not an entry on this. That's where I would look to enter, ideally. 175 ADR today. If we can get up to there, that'd be a nice short. We may be coming back up to the New Zealand dollar interest rate propulsion gap. We will see. We'll find out in 14 minutes. So with the news on the Canadian dollar, that obviously is what we're waiting for. We're waiting for that to go up to 5. Assuming we get that, the market will probably hang around for an hour waiting for the press conference, because the press conference is going to decide what the forward guidance is on this. You may well have news come out on the US dollar as well during that time, because they may well decide to release some information based on what the Canadian dollar interest rate is as well. So could be more movement this afternoon. So I say, you know, we could get it all completely unwind today. Always difficult on days like this. Just read the same thing in After Prime's Discord. Yeah, right. Then the Denver co-location takes over, or Phoenix, or whatever. Yeah, exactly. That's what typically happens. You know, that's what I say. It's like the initial connection between, they're using Cloudflare CDN and the web server. Well, web server should have shifted. DNS should have shifted over to another web server. Something else is going on here. This isn't normal. Anyway, is what it is. It's not my website, it's theirs. They're the ones losing the money, not me. I don't care. Yeah. GA. So this pound Australian dollar. So obviously this morning we had the New Zealand dollar interest rates, which came out at 5.5. So the last time we had an as expected result for the New Zealand dollar collapsed. So at the moment, what we've seen so far today is New Zealand dollar rallying against the CAD, but that's to do with the US dollar. It dumped against the Swissy, but that has been reversed. Obviously, it's going up against the US. The Australian dollars have gone with the New Zealand dollar, basically, today. So at the minute, when you're looking at something like pound Australian, that's coming down because the Australian dollar is having a bit of a rally. But the pound is strong. So I'd look to buy out of propulsion here. I've got a sell on at the moment. I mean, it'd be lovely if it gets all the way back down to here. I'm not sure it's going to get down to there today. But we're seeing a fair bit of strength coming through on this. Just closing out a long I just had on the Dow. Dow Jones is rallying, by the way. Shouldn't have closed that buy, but never mind. It did. So long on the Dow, long on the NASDAQ, and long on the S&P. All these up at ADR today. ADR 125 ADR. So, you know, we are extended. But as long as this US dollar is going to drop, this thing's going to pop. So I wouldn't be looking to hit the short button on anything today, really, on these indices, at least not for the next 10, 15 minutes or so. So yeah, this is coming down very nicely at the moment. We are coming straight down into yesterday's, previous day's low support. We've got this area here at the highs, which is where that propulsion gap was formed, which they may well buy out of as well. So I was just looking at this for a closeout on this pound odd. This Aussie dollar yen. Enough of my profit on that one to close it out, but Aussie yen and New Zealand yen can bank 0.25% on that. This is the tricky thing about news. Sitting here with 0.25% bankable. This could go like that on the Canadian, and it could go like that. This is always the trickiest part when you're in a trade, is trying to figure out where you should close it. Technically, that accumulation break should get retested. But because we've got news, it could fundamentally shift back the other way. So the best thing that can happen today would be a 4.75 Canadian. That thing will go through the roof. It's not going to happen though, I don't think. So I'm toying with the idea of taking some of this off. This is all just frozen again. Look. I'm going to switch accounts tomorrow because this is utterly useless. I can't use this at all. I might put my live account in here because it's just untradeable. Freezing like this, absolutely no use at all. I remember Heart Internet going down for over a week back in 2018. Yep, I was running my company then, and I was with Heart Internet. That's what I was saying this morning. If you're in here this morning, I was saying about these huge Samsung generators they have at data centers, so that if there is a power failure, these generators kick in and take over the power supply. Yeah, so if the grid fails, they detect it, take over the power, and then shut all the servers down. That's what happened with Heart. That was probably why I shut my company. Basically, Heart Internet. I had over 200 customers who we were hosting websites for and everything. And basically, that day and that week, my phone didn't stop for 24 hours a day. Literally, people phoning up saying, my business is going bust because our website's gone down. I'm not able to contact Heart because it's chat only. Everybody moved away from Heart Internet's virtually bankrupt now. They rebranded, they did everything. Same as 20i did. 20i did this as well. Not 20i, sorry. 1&1, who are now called Ionos. Why are they called Ionos? Because 1&1 had the same thing. All their servers failed. They lost data. You know, and this is why nowadays we have co-location hosting. Everything is in two places because if one goes down, the other comes back up again. Just nuts. I don't understand how you can run a business and go, oh, our website's down. If it's down for a couple of hours, you're losing a fortune. It's the internet. It doesn't go down. Well, it does, as we know, because my Virgin went down, didn't it? few months ago. But anyway, Michael, Dixie. Dixie is going down hard. If you want to see what the Dixie's doing, look at the euro US dollar. It's doing the opposite to that. Will the CAD news affect oil? No, oil news will affect the CAD. CAD news won't affect oil. Well, I say that. I mean, everything will move. Basically, everything moves on news. Yeah, look at this. This is happening because of the CPI figures. But everything will be affected in a different way based on the news. Obviously, Canadian dollar doesn't affect oil, but the price of oil affects the Canadian dollar because it's a major export. So, but you know, they are not the major producer, but they are. It's a big export of their GDP, big part of their GDP. Dow's stalling out up at the highs at the minute. We are still ticking away here, pushing higher on the indices. What am I down today? $500. Do I dare hold all these? Break even. News is in 6 minutes. I'm going to tighten up the stops on these. I don't think we're going to get a negative reaction to the CAD, but you never know. Fire was in the UPS. Well, that's not a good place to have a fire, is it? An uninterruptible power supply that is not fireproof. You can't make anything fireproof, can you really? They'll get it back. It will come up. Pound Swiss 150 ADR. So we're at the lows on the Pound Swiss. Next stop, monthlies. So the Canadian dollar, I'm just going to see what I've got on that I can take off. Gonna let it run, I think. Not worth banking anything. Euro Swiss, you want to have a look at? So yeah, I mean, this will be less affected by US and CAD. So we're down at ADR on the Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss is a bit of a funny one because obviously this is all Swiss franc strength that's driving all this down at the moment. There's no more support on the hourly at the minute. So you've got to go out further to find another level. And there isn't really anything until you're getting down to these lows. We've got this low here, which could potentially act as a support, but there's nothing for 300, 400 ADR to the downside now. So I think we just, with this one, you just got to wait for price action, basically. Wait for them to start taking profit on this move. So we've got 4-hour RSI extension below the 20 now. We got the hourly RSI extension from yesterday. That first entry? Yeah, yesterday, first entry and second entry yesterday. Big, strong push. So we'll be getting into a third entry on the next reversal alert today. We're going to get extended again if we carry on pushing. So next entry will be there. 25 off of 39. Actually won't be there. I'm just going to put a pending on that, I think, actually today. That's just under 3/4 of an ADR. Just going to put a buy stop there. If we get a massive surge on the news, I'm just going to get gathered up with a third position on that because the reversal alert will actually be wherever, obviously, the candle ends. So I'm just going to put a pending order there to get gathered up into it, because it's not going to be able to get the trade on, because that's going to be slightly too close. It's just under 3/4 of an ADR. But I would still want to take another position down here because we're extended at ADR. We're extended on the 4 hour. And want to get that average down a little bit. Indices still pushing. There's another disconnection. Back. Right, so let's watch. What should we watch? Let's watch the US dollar CAD. So we've got 1 minute to go. Hopefully the chart will have updated by then. And we'll keep an eye on the Dow as well. Three, 4, 6, 6. So I'm just going to put some trailers on these. These longs. So if we do get a spike, the trailing stops will just fly with it and get taken out at whatever I get taken out at. I'm just going to reduce risk on them as well, because we're likely to get some slippage if it does fly. News. 5 on a forecast of 5. So as expected. Canadian dollar's rallying. So strengthening the CAD at the moment. Stopped out on those. Oh no. Dow's coming down hard. These are not, though. Not a big reaction off the Canadian. So bear in mind, obviously, we need to wait for the news for the press conference on the CAD. So we've got the 5 as expected. So that should be bullish Canadian dollar. Bank of Canada projects hitting CPI target mid-2025 versus an earlier call for the end of 2024. So they're anticipating inflation remaining stubborn for longer, which would anticipate more interest rate rises. Less near-term downward momentum in CPI. Again, worst case, more interest rates. Concerned progress towards CPI target could stall. Again, bullish Canadian dollar. See if we get anything else. No. So that's all bullish CAD. Not a massive reaction to that. So worst case scenario for US dollar CAD. Obviously, weak Canadian dollar news. Bullish. Weak US dollar news. Bullish Canadian dollar. So we could find ourselves today very easily 200 ADR on this. So 200 ADR, 175 ADR is the monthly low. So that would be a good spot for a long today, because we're going to find limit orders wanting to buy this area. So if they do drive it all the way down to here, we're likely to find some kind of resistance down at the lows there, acting as support and push us back up again. US dollar doesn't seem to be doing an awful lot. So indices are holding up at the minute. No movement on the yen. Not a lot of movement at all there, was there? All done on the CPI. So give it half an hour. But that's your news all done now for the day. So we've got the press conference at 4 o'clock. So that's all the released news is what I mean. So the press conference is where we're going to get our forward guidance. So keep an eye on Financial Juice for any news coming out of the Canadian press conference. That's probably what we're going to wait for the next move off the CAD. And then it's just business as usual from there. So growth average around 1% through the second half of 2023. 1.5% annualized growth in Q2 and Q3. So they're not projecting a recession either. Again, bullish CAD. GDP now seen at 1.8 this year, 1.2 in 2024 and 2.4 in 2025. That's when they're going to get on top of inflation. So they're forecasting, it's all bullish. It's all really good news for the Canadian dollar. There we go. That's that. Indices don't seem to be batting an eyelid to this one, so you can see if we can hold these longs. Really don't know where we're going at the top here. I mean, these NASDAQ and S&Ps, we are out in new highs now on these indices. So there's literally nothing to stop this move now. We're out at kind of all-time highs, if you like, all-time recent highs. So this thing could run as far as it wants to today if we get that US dollar coming down. But that's not massively bearish US dollar news. That's a big reaction we've got today on some of these. So we're going to get a nice big pullback on these at some point. There we go. Anybody got anything else they want to discuss or look at? Because I haven't really got much else to say today. We need to wait for this press conference to come out at 4 o'clock and then wait and see what the market does with this US dollar. So the initial reaction obviously is bearish because it is bearish news. But we will see if they are going to make a move south on the US. Dow's coming down. We pull back into the open again. This could be a nice support area on the Dow. If the other indices are going to stay long, we might get a rally on the Dow from here. I hate buying up at ADR. Horrible thing to do. It's very unnatural to be buying when something's been rallying so hard, but this is a fundamental move. So always one of two things happens. We completely undo it or it accumulates and pushes. Looks like it's a push today. Fire Christ. Thoughts on New Zealand dollar, US dollar? Right. Well, today, New Zealand dollar, US dollar obviously is rallying through the roof because the US dollar's collapsed. US dollar yen 150 ADR. So, yeah, I mean, we're out the highs now. This propulsion gap, this high here, and this propulsion gap basically are next stops to the upside for shorts. It's not extended yet on the 4 hour. I don't think it's extended on the hourly. No, it's just getting up to the 70 level on the hourly. So we're getting close to an extension there. But looking around about 200 ADR, this high and that propulsion gap would be a good place to start looking for shorts on it if it gets there. I'm just watching this Dow starting to reject the lows. Well, starting to find some buyers here. Look. This is the open. Rallied. Everybody that's long on this, if they want to continue long, they're going to re-add here. US dollar Swiss 175. US dollar still coming down, which is going to be bullish indexes. So yeah, New Zealand dollar, US dollar at the moment, I'd be waiting. You can take it short here. It is ADR, it is extended, so just drop down to M5 and wait for a reversal. You haven't had one there. Support rectangle's holding up. So, this is why we use the support rectangle for the reversal alert, because this is when we started selling. So we watch this area. If we break back above that area, this is where we tried to sell. If the sellers get back to this area and actually manage to get a sell on and break, that's the start of the sellers taking control. Going long one on the Dow. Very small risk. Very small risk. Low under, stop under the candle low, basically. Long, stop under there. Really tight trade. A lot of buyers coming in. I can hear it on tick strike. So looking for the market structure. Oh, for Christ's sake, stop popping up. Looking at the market structure. This is where I'd be looking for buys. If I was a buyer and I'd just broken high, this is where I'd be adding. Very high reward if it breaks that high. So yeah, New Zealand dollar, US dollar is still rallying at the moment. So wait for a reversal alert before you get in. If it re-breaks that high, the reversal is going to drop down onto that candle. It's going to be pretty much the same spot. So sell it when we break there. If we break there. US 30 RSI at 80 plus. I don't look at RSI on indices. Doesn't work. I've never found it worked anyway. It does work. The RSI works in a bull market. If you're in a bull calm market, the RSI is fantastic for pullbacks, but I don't use it on any other time frame than the daily. But I wouldn't. When you've got a fundamental shift like this, yeah, I mean, ADR means nothing. RSI means nothing. If the market now suddenly wants to dump the US dollar, it's not going to stop. It'll just keep going until there is no one left to take the other side of their trades, and then we will go into an accumulation, and then we'll see whether or not we can pull it back or not. So technicals don't work when there's a fundamental event, which is why I say there's no point in me really doing any analysis technically, because fundamentals today. Let's go down. Mumo, thoughts on the DAX, potential movement from tomorrow? How would I know that? In a minute. Let me find out. Still a buy tomorrow, the DAX. No, but seriously, the DAX, we've still got the gap filled DAX to the upside. So, oh, no, we haven't. I didn't think we were that high. Didn't realize, but I haven't looked at the DAX because New York session. If we can get that gap fill done today, potentially down. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 solid days up on the DAX in a downtrend. Yeah. So we got high, low, lower high, lower low. We're looking for a lower high if market structure is going to continue to the downside. So this is, we're obviously looking for a pullback short. We've been playing the gap fills long. That completes that gap fill. That unfinished business is complete. We can drop from there. And it's 4-day rally. US dollar Swiss 175 of its weekly range. We're on Wednesday afternoon. We've done 175% of its weekly range. We're on Wednesday, so there. Yeah, so yeah, 175% of its weekly range already in 3 days. Big mean reversion opportunity on the US dollar Swiss. So yeah, DAX tomorrow, we'll wait and see. I mean, obviously no idea what it's going to do, but we know gaps get filled. They're our main targets. And if this continues to rally today, going down, Yeah, be looking for a pullback. Euro pound ADR. See, even the euro pound has managed to do its average daily range, probably the weakest currency out there, and even that has done ADR. So measure this. So we're going to get one or two things happen on the DAX from here. We're either going to continue market structure south, in which case then we'll be looking for shorts back down to challenge that low and obviously break that low, or we're going to have a market structure shift back to the upside to test that high. Pound odd 150. I'm going to turn these alerts off in a minute. I hate the dashboards when the news is on because it's just like this. Away. I know everything's moving. So measuring that move that we've just had, if we're going to get a pullback continuation and test that high, we'd be looking to come back to either there or there or there and go. So there's a good 2-day drop potentially if we're going to go long. If we're going short, obviously, it'll come down, just come down basically. So we know that coming down obviously is a lot faster than going up. So we'll see tomorrow where we are. But we haven't quite done the fill yet. It's not far away though. I mean, it's literally it's pips away. So you could class it really as kind of done because it depends where they close. But it's the big round number, 160 is pretty much it. I'm going to close that. Break even on the Dow. Let's give it a run, see if it goes. So I've just moved to break even, which is pretty much there. So watching that high for a pop. Get out when we pop that high because it'll probably want to come back from there. Yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. Could be a big day tomorrow. News-wise, obviously, there's no European news coming up. So there's nothing forecast. We've got the GDP for the pounds tomorrow, but there's nothing Euro-wise. We've got bank holiday on Friday as well. So there's no major Euro news forecast at all next week. The next Euros we've got are the PMI figures, which are at the end of the month. So there's nothing fundamentally to shift the Euro strong in any direction at the moment. And obviously the DAX is priced in euros. So there's no fundamental news that we can look at to say, right, we're building up for a move on this date. So DAX, you just got to do normal technical analysis on it and just say, right, well, Euro Swiss 150 ADR now. Let's just play the gaps because we know the gaps work. Gaps have been beautiful. Every gap we've said, let's play the gap fill on. Virtually every gap has just been beautiful. We looked at taking the gap fill there, didn't we? Up to there. We got that gap fill in. We rallied up. Next day, we looked short to go for the gap fill. Got the gap fill, left that gap in play. We gapped down massively. And then since then, we've been looking for the gap fill up. And now we're basically done. So we are out of gaps. Back to square one. This morning's gap fill, wasn't it? DAX. So this morning we opened up, filled the gap, took the long. Well, I didn't get on it, but I got on that bit. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow morning. Dow's stalling a little bit. It's going to lock a little bit of profit in on that. Right. Also, hope to get an in-depth session from you someday on how you maneuver futures. Yeah. How I maneuver them. That's how I maneuver them on this thing. This one I'm at the moment. But yeah, I don't, it's the same as, exactly the same as this. Yeah. DAX is off. Look. So that's why I built this for trading CFDs, because this doesn't exist. But all that is up there is a buy button, a sell button, and a stop loss. Price action, candlesticks. There's nothing clever. I'm not doing anything clever at all in futures. It's exactly the same stuff. You buy it, you put a stop, and you take more than you lose. That's literally it. It's random. I haven't got a clue where anything is going. Yeah. That Dow trade I've just taken is a support resistance bounce. It's nothing clever. Look. Yeah. That area there, we pushed up, pulled back, we pushed up, we tested it, broke it. That becomes the next potential support. If market structure is going to go like that, we're having a trend day instead of a rotation day, you're just going to pull back to support. That's all I've done. I've bought support. It'll either work or it won't. It's now break even, so I can't lose any money on it. It will go, or I'll lose $200, which is what I risk per entry. Nothing clever. Price actions, candlesticks. It's what the Price Action Toolkit was built for. Candlestick patterns. So this thing identifies candlestick patterns. Strong closed candles, inside bars, long wicks, hammers, shooting stars, bullish, bearish, engulfings. Literally, that's all it is. I'm taking candlestick patterns that I'm seeing at support resistance levels. It pulls back into there. I'll be watching for a wick. And I'll go long, stop there. And if it works, it works. When you're trading price action, I'm going to stop out with a little bit of profit on that Dow. When you've got market structure, i.e. on a trend day, that's when you make your money. When you're in a rotation day, it's very difficult unless you can identify a decent range and take a nice trade like that, in which case they're very profitable. But all you're doing is just waiting for the market to pull back to a level it's been to before, where buyers and sellers have entered the market. It's exactly what we do here. Propulsion gaps. Yeah. Look at this Dow propulsion gap. 150 on the euro US dollar. It's still going. You just got stopped out on that, but no matter. Stopped out in profit. That propulsion gap, they come back, they test it, they add, they come back, they add. Yeah. It's the same stuff. Just on a 5-minute time frame. Less accurate. What's the reason for your 2 long positions in the US dollar Swiss? RSI extension, H1M5 mean reversion. H1 mean reversion. Second entry, position. I'm long. It's dropped. Add. I'll add again in a minute. Still buying. Thought I'd put a trading stop on that. Why is that not triggered a trading? Oh. Okay, 150 ADR. I'm going to shut the NASDAQ up there. Just gets rid of a little bit of that loss. So tiny little loss now on the day. Can close it out right now and just take a profit. But I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more out of this. We can get a push up to 175 ADR on the S&P. I'll probably just close it all up there for sort of $300-400 or something like that. Ian stopped out both ways on the NASDAQ. Put in a manual long, closed at 1% profit. Good job. Good job. Yeah, tricky. Sellers are coming in. going to close it. I'll take a break even on the day. It's load of sellers coming in. So the Dow hasn't managed to make a new high there. Yeah. So potentially market structure shift back down to the downside from there. Hearing a lot of selling, and when you hear a lot of selling, you can't hear this, can you? Tick strike. I've got it the volume too low. When you hear a lot of selling coming in, and you see the candle move down really fast, like that did, and you've been struggling to push. So for the last 15 minutes, we've gone from there to there in 15 minutes. That's all we've managed to do. Like 2.5 points in 15 minutes on the S&P. And you hear suddenly a load of selling coming in. You know that you're running out of buyers up here. We know we're exhausted. We're at 100, 150 ADR, 125 ADR. We're hitting 150 on the NASDAQ. This is shot. Exhausted. There's only so much buying you can do before you run out of people that are willing to sell to you. It's just, this is the stuff you can't program into an EA. Because you don't know when the news is going to come. And if you did know when the news is going to come, you don't know what the reaction is going to be to the news. You just got to eyeball this stuff. US dollar Swiss, 5-minute reversal alerts just about to trigger. Long, 175 ADR. So I'm just about to get another entry on that. There we go. So there's the buy. Just gone in on that one, on that reversal alert. You hear the sellers coming in now. So potentially a good short, and potentially, as someone said earlier, it could be a nice big drop off of this. DAX is starting to roll over. It's all starting to roll over. I've got 35 minutes to the press conference. So likelihood is we're just going to kind of flop about for the next half an hour. So we'll see if we get any more movement off the CAD press conference. But so another entry there on the US dollar Swiss on that M5 reversal alert. Starting to run out of steam a little bit. Let's see what the biggest ADRs are. So Aussie dollar CAD. So that's come off of 175. Oh, that's a good exit, wasn't it? Look at that for an exit. Short on the Dow. I'm going to try a quick short. This might not work, but if this is going to be a market structure shift, yeah, that's your new lower high. We're looking for a lower low to go in below that low, if that is going to shift back down. Potential stop up here somewhere, but potential reward anywhere down there. That's not. It's going back up again. Going to be a loss. So yeah, Aussie dollar CAD 175 ADR. We've got the pound Swiss 175 ADR. So this Swiss franc really benefited from today. Pound dropped off dramatically. This is a long, so that's a good looking opportunity for a long there. You've had the 5-minute reversal alert on this. Actually, you haven't. It's going to be there because that was like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes straight down. So watch for a pullback here. If this pulls back, potentially you could take a break of that high. What else? We've got 175. US dollar Swiss we just looked at, 175. Just taking another entry on that one on the reversal alert. RSIs, US dollar Swiss, obviously. Hourly, massively embedded. We're now sitting down at 17 on US dollar Swiss. I'm going to close that. Short on the Dow. And turn the volume down because that's way too loud. Silly trying to take a trade ahead of the news. We might well just sit here. Looks like lovely market structure, but I'm not sure we're necessarily going to go anywhere ahead of the press conference. So yeah, US dollar Swiss, massive extension. That's the most extended thing we've got out there at the moment. US dollar yen is obviously massively extended as well now. So this yen move being bolstered by the US dollar weakness. We are back down at monthly support. So we came up, hit that, tested it again, accumulated on it, couldn't get through, finally made the break, retested. This is the next retest of that level. Massive extension. Looking to pull back at least 50% of that move. Then obviously go wherever the hell it wants. But yeah, looking for a good looking long opportunity there. And that's also extended on the 4 hour. Massive extension on the 4 hour. Again, you know, we get down to these levels on the 4. Get at least a big ping back, if not a reversal. So watch for that. Move to the upside. We've also got CAD Swiss massively extended. Obviously, this could unfold literally in the next half an hour. Just taking another entry long on that one on the 5-minute reversal alert. So there's your alert. There's the entry there. So that could basically fly. So we've just had lots and lots of bullish news on the Canadian. So this is all bullish, everything that's been said. Let's see if there's anything else I missed. Yeah, so they're forecasting in now a higher interest rate than previous because of all that bullish news that we've just had land. So it is all bullish CAD. I very much doubt the press conference is going to come out and talk this down. More likely they're going to reaffirm this, which is going to drive the market. So we should get some potentially bullish movement on the Canadian on the press conference, which will help the US dollar recover a little bit of these losses today. Potential output growth expected to increase. Inflation to average 3.7 in 2023, 3.5 in April versus 3.5. So yeah, inflation up, interest up, Canadian dollar up. Crude oil inventories just come out, 5.94 on a forecast of negative. That's negative oil, which is negative CAD, but that will cancel out anything fundamental. So oil's probably come down a little. Not a lot. A little bit of a pullback. So we were looking at oil. We didn't look at it this morning, did we? No, we did look at it this morning because we were saying we're going to target this high. So we've hit that, exceeded it. That was the next level here. That support, resistance. So just 125 ADR for a short. Multi-week rally we're on at the moment with oil. Forecast is $95 a barrel. So we were saying, you know, if we break this high, which we've been stuck in now for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, that's the 8-week high. If we break that level, potentially a little bit of a pullback and then a rally up to test those highs. So might be the start of a rally on oil. Again, that's going to help the Canadian dollar. All good for the CAD at the moment, which hopefully will help the US dollar rally a bit. But anyway, we will see. It doesn't always work that way. CAD yen, that's massively extended as well to the downside. So nice pullback potential there in the 24.72 zone. A continuation back up to retest those highs. Assuming we're going to continue bullish. Massive extension on the 4 hour. Again, same thing. All the same thing over and over again. Speaking of tools, it would be nice to get the version of propulsion gap indicator you're using, the one with ADR counter up top. This is the support resistance propulsion indicator, this one here. That ADR comes with the ADR indicator. Doesn't come with the support resistance propulsion. That's part of ADR, where it gives you the ADR figure. Oh, do you mean this bit? Right, so this version that I'm using of the ADR indicator, so this is the ADR indicator, which tells you the ADR. I've modified my version so that it tells me on screen half an ADR and a quarter of an ADR. That's the only thing that's different. So you haven't got those two numbers. You've just got that one. The only reason I've got that is just so that I can quickly call out half an ADR to you guys and say half an ADR is 40 pips. Rather than going, it's 81, half an ADR is 40 and a half. Just to stop me doing maths when there's odd numbers in ADR, because I'm crap at odd numbers. That's literally the only reason I built that. So it's nothing to do with the support resistance propulsion indicator. I'm going to shut that one down. All done for the day on that. Flat day. Good down futures there. $635. Right. I'm not going to hang around for the Canadian. Basically, you're going to be sitting in rotation for the next 25 minutes. So obviously, when the CAD news comes out, the press conference, that's when they're likely to start to move this Canadian dollar properly, because they'll get confirmation from the Bank of Canada about what has just been released in the rate statement. The rate statement is what we've just seen coming up on Financial Juice, all this stuff. So it's likely that we'll get a little bit of extra push out of the CAD this afternoon. So other than that, I think pretty much most of your movement is done today. ADR's obviously lit up like a Christmas tree. RSI's lit up like a Christmas tree. Everything is extended and stretched, which is great, because when it gets extended and stretched, it means there's good opportunities for mean reversions. So lots of opportunities out there. A lot of this stuff that's driving at the moment, you will probably be in anyway, because these are previous extensions where we've just had an extension on the RSI extensions. So nice divergence there on the CAD yen. Bullish, but we need to wait for that thing to get more of a rally, which hopefully will be this afternoon. Is the candle formation of the Dow a pennant? Yeah. So all a pennant is a symmetrical triangle sitting on top of a bull run. So if you've got the symmetrical triangle indicator, that will draw, potentially will draw that on. C, D. Yeah, that will be a symmetrical triangle. So yeah, it's a pennant, flag, pole. Pennant and a flag are the same thing, basically. So a flag is a downward channel off the back of a propulsion move. A pennant is a contraction at the top of a propulsion move. Both bullish. Bullish pennant. However, when you have a bullish pattern appearing at 125% of its average daily range, it's going to have a lot less strength left in it. So symmetrical triangle patterns and flags tend to be the worst when you're towards the end of the day and you've had a big bull day or big bear day, because there's nothing left. So what you tend to find is that flag will break, everyone will take it, and it will just do that, because there's just no one left to buy. They've all bought it. They're in. All they're going to do is just keep adding if you try and pull it back again. And then they'll do an accumulation break the next day. But don't forget, we have got more news coming. The Bank of Canada could come out and completely upset everybody this afternoon. Yeah, it's a press conference. That's why they're so important, because it's all right releasing a statement, yeah, where you get all the information read out to you. But when you get the the awkward questions, that's when you get things coming out. So this is why when you have FOMC and you get the new rate released, the rate makes it spike and move around a little bit, but you're waiting for the press conference because that is when the Fed is going to get questioned on where we're going next. This tells us what data has led to the 5% rate. We know that. You told us you were going to 5%. Well done. You've delivered what you wanted. What happens next? Yeah. So the market is now interested in, should I be buying the Canadian dollar or selling the Canadian dollar? And primarily, I will be buying it if the interest rates are going to go up because I'm going to make more money on my money. If you're going to put interest rates down or hold them where they are, I might think twice about buying the Canadian dollar. So the press conference is where we're going to be questioning the Bank of Canada and saying, right, where now? And they will or won't, depending on whether they want to rally or dump, or stay where we are, give us some clues or not, give the analysts clues. And that's when you'll see the market take off for 2 or 3 days or not. Yeah, you just don't know. And at the moment, especially, you don't know because we're getting interest rate rises like the New Zealand and it's going completely the opposite direction. But that was because the market overshot, because they over forecast. Weekly range hit, £200 Swiss, and weekly range hit on the pound Swiss. This Swiss franc is having a good day today. Swiss franc on fire. I've just taken a manual and the EA's just got me in. I need to get out of one of those in a minute, hopefully on a pullback. Just overexposed on that. Took that manual and then we got the alert, which got me in as well. Yeah, Swiss franc having a big day today. So really nice mean reversion opportunity on the pound Swiss. Pound is bullish. We've got news coming up on the pound tomorrow. We've got the GDP figures tomorrow morning. We get positive GDP figures. Off we go. We should get positive GDP figures as well. I don't think we're going to be -3 on the month. I think we're going to be better than that. We've been rallying a lot. I think we'll probably get a better figure than that, which means we might get a nice big push tomorrow on the pound. But we'll see. So good looking opportunity there. Again, just wait for the buyers to be on side before you get in. So reverse alert was there. It's now there. Much tighter entry. See if we can get some 225s. So pound Swiss and US dollar Swiss. So for Swiss franc, they're piling into the Swiss franc, absolutely piling into it at the moment. This is what happens when you Swiss franc, safe haven, yen, safe haven. Not quite as much at the moment, but Swiss franc, safe haven currency. So when you are taking your money out of the US dollar and you are unsure where to put it, you put it somewhere safe. It's kind of like the Swiss franc is kind of like the stable coin of crypto. You put your money in the Swissy and then you move it where you want to do. This is why the Swiss franc and the Swiss are so rich, because the Swiss banking system is a holding pattern. And every time you dump 20 million into the Swiss banking system, you pay the Swiss banks a commission for executing the order. That's how they make all their money. That's why they're so rich, because so much goes through it. So a lot of money coming out of the US dollar at the moment and piling into the Swiss franc. That will all get undone. What they now will do when they've decided where they're going to put it is they will pull it out of the Swiss franc and put it into other currencies. And you'll see the Swiss franc suddenly weaken, which is why the Swiss franc goes up and down like that all the time. US dollar CAD 125. So still dropping. Canadian dollar strength still. US dollar weakness still. So just getting ready to enter more positions on these. Get one more on there. 460. Tight as well. Right. I will leave it there today. If there's any other questions on anything. Written and SDR that shows this. Written and SDR that shows this. What? Thanks for the follow, Gideon. Welcome aboard. ADR 41.3 pips today. Max is 61.4 pips divided by 148.7. Now 50.6 divided by 122.5 ADR. What? I don't know what you mean, Peter. Are you talking about the ADR dash? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know what you mean. Basically, all the ADR dash shows you is what these numbers on the right here are what the ADR is, what 125% of ADR is, what 150% of ADR is, what 175% of ADR is, etc., etc. And the number on the left shows you how many pips today. So this 121 of 115 is 200% of the average daily range. Yeah, average daily range is 58, call it 60. Current ADR is 121, call it 120, which is 200% of its average daily range. Yeah, that's what you're referring to. All this does, forget the numbers. Numbers are irrelevant. We're not interested in numbers. We're interested in, wow, this thing's really stretched. Let's get in. Not divide by, just shows all the ADR data. Something I've made. Oh, something you've made. Oh, right, okay. So I didn't know what you were talking about. Something you've made. Right. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. 175 ADR, still coming down. US dollar's still dropping. Indices, not really doing a lot, but still trying to go a little bit further, but we're exhausted up here. So anyway, I will leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:50, same time. We will have a look at what's happened with the GDP for the pound tomorrow morning. And obviously, we will see what happens this afternoon when these Canadian press conference is over. And then obviously, we'll see where we are with the US dollar. But lots and lots of stretched US dollar moves. So question is, are we going to pull these back? And if so, when? So good moves potentially on the cards. So, all right. So have a good day. Anything else you need, let me know. I'll be in the Telegram group. But back tomorrow morning, 7:50. We'll trade the DAX and yeah, go from there. All right. Have a good one.